I have hundreds and hundreds of videos on this channel that are highly edited, they use time lapse, and every second counts. But I don't have many that are just real time, watch me draw step by step. So I wanted to present one of those to you, and I hope you like it. If you do like it, please watch it through right to the end. It really does help out the channel. And let's get into it. Here's how you draw a unicorn. So the first thing I like to do is try to plan it out. I'm going to put the head about here and the neck kind of swooping down and the body like this. Okay, when I draw a horse's face, I like to start with that huge chewing muscle. It's called the buccinator. It's basically the cheek, and it's basically a circle, I would say. Get the width of that, drag it down, and that will allow you to draw a circle for the nose. The nose should be slightly smaller than that buccinator muscle. We're going to be drawing the horse in profile here, so then just connect those two circles up. I'll put in some rough guidelines now for the neck, and I'm using really light lines here, and that's important because I'm going to have to change things as I adjust for proportions. You're going to see later on that I really do change the neck quite a bit. The next step is to draw a circle for the eye. And that's the basic outline done, those foundation lines. You can kind of put an ear up here. I like to think of the horse's ears as leaf-shaped. Again, really light lines, and kind of pull back and assess as you're going along. I'm just starting to refine some of these shapes now. I'll put that mouth in, and then the two lips. Come around the nose and put the nostril in. That's just a C shape. And that gives you that basic shape of the nose. Now at the top of the nose here at the bridge, you can see there's a very gentle curve up. I'll continue that on, and at this point I realize, yeah, the eye is probably a little too small. I'll just make that bigger. That's why light lines are important. Carry on with the head. Okay, let's look at the eye a little closer. I'm going to draw that upper eyelid, and then come around for the front of the eye, and all the way around. It's basically a circle. We're going to color that in a little later on. Around the eye, you're going to have that lower lid, and bring it all the way around on the upper lid side too, just like that. And then you put that muscle in for the eyelid. That's a really nice rough guideline for the eye. You can look at reference photos for this, but all horses tend to have that same shape. For the buccinator muscle, that big circular muscle there at the jaw, it is pretty much a circle, except for that flat part for the eye. And then that will tuck into some of the neck muscles. There's a small muscle here, but the large muscle that runs down the back of the neck is actually the same in humans. It's called the sternocleidomastoid muscle, or the SCM, and it attaches at the back of the skull and runs basically down to your clavicle and sternum. From underneath the buccinator, I'm going to find that spot where the head attaches to the neck. I've been a little too aggressive with my line, and I'm going to have to change that later. And then this curved line will be for the body. So we have this basic shape of a horse's head and neck and then the body, but the horse is kind of turning away. Let's put in some of these smaller muscles that go from the buccinator to the mouth. It's like 2 or 3 lines. Don't have these lines really straight. Make them a little bit curvy. It gives it a more of an organic feel, I think. And then there's the buccinator on the other side, just poking out beneath. I'm just creating some random lines here to give the horse some texture. Okay, I like the general shape of the ear. I might make it a little bit bigger now. Bring it around. Notice that I'm pressing a little darker, but if you're not super confident in your lines, you can keep it light and then darken it up later. That's important. Let's get some foundation lines for the mane, and that's that patch of hair that runs right down the crest of the back of the neck. So I'm going to have it kind of flowing on each side. I'm drawing it in chunks, and then I can draw some details later. And you can make this as long as you like. You can make it wavy if you want. It is a unicorn after all, not a horse, so it's a mythical creature. I'll darken up the mouth now. And then give that lower lip some structure. Kind of scribble in some lines. Now, horses do have goatees, kind of like billy goats. So I'll put some extra hair in here. That's one of the defining features between a horse and a unicorn. I think I just said horses earlier. Yeah, a defining feature between a unicorn and a horse. So horses don't have the goatee, unicorns do. And I like the shape of the nostril, so we'll just keep that. And then just keep carrying up on above the bridge of the nose here. I'm putting in these little light scribbly lines to give my drawing some texture. Apologies for the motorcycle if you can hear that. And now to the unicorn. Uni means one and corn means horn. And notice how it's not the same width all the way. It's slightly wider at the base, and as you move toward the tip, it gets narrower. I'm going to put in these diagonal lines along the bottom. And the same thing along the top. Now, I'm going for about a 10-minute drawing here, so they're going to be, there are different levels that you want to do. If you're going for an hour drawing, you're going to want to make sure that those lines are perfectly straight or curved if you want, or to make it look like a spiral, and that's just a function of time. And then just following the outside of this horn with these tiny, tiny bumps, and that's just to give it some more texture. There are no rules, of course, with unicorns. They can have a variety of different horns, and you'll have to decide that for yourself. So we have our basic structure here, and I'm just going to erase the part of the head where the hair covers up. So all this part of the neck back here, and then some of those foundation lines. You are going to need an eraser. That's just part of drawing. It's not making mistakes or correcting mistakes. It's getting rid of some of those foundation lines to help you with your proportions. You can put the hair back in now. Notice how far back I'm holding my pencil. That's to give me these really nice long lines by just flicking my fingers. And so I don't have to really move my whole arm when I'm drawing lines like you would have to if you were holding the pencil too far to the tip. I'm going to color the eye in, but don't color the whole thing in. Just color in about half like I've done here. That'll make the part you didn't color look like shine. Okay, then I'll just fix the neck by making it a little bit thicker. And then that little patch of hair in front of the eyes. I can put in a bit more hair here with these nice long lines. And that's pretty much for the line work. But then we're going to come in with this blending stick. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can use a cotton swab. It's also called a Q-tip. And it has the function of blending in your line work, but also you can kind of use it as a drawing implement itself. It can give you these really nice, thick, soft lines. So I'm going to work my way around the unicorn's head and define some of the shapes by using these thick lines around to create form. Coloring in the nostril and where the muscles are divided. You see how just these very soft lines are already creating some form around the ear, at the bottom of that buccinator muscle, and then the neck. Even if you're drawing a white animal like an Arctic fox or a polar bear or indeed a unicorn, you are going to want to leave some room for white, for highlights. So that means that the rest of the thing, even though it's white, even though the animal is white, should receive some pencil. So these blending sticks are really good for that. They're still very, very light, and they give the impression of whiteness. I'll grab my pencil now and start darkening up some of those lines. And give this unicorn some eyelashes. And then define the mouth and nose a little bit better. This one kind of looks like it's smiling a bit. I'll just define that goatee with some thin, darker lines. So you can see my mark making is varied. I have thin, dark lines and thick, dark lines, and thin, soft lines and hard lines. Here are some more thin, light lines, giving some visual interest to the drawing by varying my mark making. And just redefine some of the hair here, and then some of the texture on this horn. You might be happy to know that I'm coming out with a second book, and based on the success of the New Artist Guide to Drawing, my first book, I've been asked to do a second one, and this one is going to be just animals. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's not going to be coming out until fall of 2026, so it's way too early to pre-order the book or anything like that. I'm still working hard on it. But I will keep you updated on that one. But there you go. There is the unicorn with a pencil horn. No, should be like that. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this real-time drawing, and I will see you in the next one. Please leave me a comment if you are so inclined. Have a great, wonderful, and creative week, and I'll see you in the next one.